Hi everyone, so this is my book review for today, and I think this is number 31 or number 32. It's 31 or 32, I can't keep track, and it's called Why Men Marry Some Women and Not Others by Darren Malai. And I've made a book review about this book years ago. If you go back on this channel, 2016-17, I made a book review, but at that time I wasn't doing literally book reviews, it was just an interesting book. Now the book is made up of lots of chapters, including the marrying kind, meeting online, stages in a relationship, first impressions, women that men marry, and there's lots in here, so I'm just going to try and narrow it down. The book is basically based on studies and research that has been carried out with a massive amount of men and women of different ages, different backgrounds, just so that it can get a really good idea of the information. And I love that. I love the fact that it's based on research, and it talks about really the reasons that most men said why they married. So some of the chapters include they were in the right position, it was the right woman, they'd had enough of being single for a certain period of time. There's a chapter in here called Bachelors for Life, and there's one called Stringers, and the Stringers one was interesting because it talks about just men that like continuously date and string women along, but they know they're never going to marry them. And there's lots of terms around anyway these days, like love bombing and all sorts of things. So that one I've not heard of before, so that was interesting. And it's got some good stuff in here. I'm going to talk to you about a few things in here. So there's a chapter where it's talking about 6 findings on the path to marrying men. So the primary difference between women who marry and those who not is that women who insist on marriage, they settle for nothing less. So some of the men in this research, apparently then, they're saying that because the women they dated insisted on marriage, that made a big difference. So it almost felt like the men knew that if they didn't marry this woman, then she was going to leave. Another one is women who married were far less likely to have wasted their time in dead-end relationships. So a lot of the women got to a certain point where they said, if this doesn't lead to marriage, then there's no point. So they were quite serious and quite intentional about the type of relationship they wanted. So therefore, they're more likely to get married. Another one is women who married loved themselves more than they loved any man. So that's like key, really. That's what I say as a counsellor and a coach. If you love yourself and you're quite secure in who you are and you've got high self-esteem, then you're not going to base your life around getting married, but it will shine, and it will be likely that, if that's what you want in your life, then you are going to do that because you love yourself enough to go for what you want. Then there's things that women who are committed to the idea of marriage are much likely to get married. So there's a lot of women who might say, I don't know if I want to get married, or I'll see what happens. But they're saying that the women who were very committed and they knew that's exactly what they wanted, they're the ones that likely would get married. So there's a chapter which talks about the 7, I think it's the 6, it just goes through stages of relationships basically, and it talks about the most important stage in any relationship is becoming a couple, because once you become a couple, both parties make a major commitment. People who have become couples frequently end up marrying. So I suppose what it's saying is that if you have a direction, and if you say we're going to become exclusive, we're going to do things together, we're going to become a proper couple, the chances of you getting married then are higher than people who just say we're going to date and see what happens. So I gave the book 8 out of 10. There's some really good stuff in here. I don't want to go through the whole book again. It's quite a lengthy book, but it's got some really good examples, some research pieces. I enjoyed reading it, and I'd advise you to read it if you're interested in, maybe thinking about the reasons why people get married, and if you want to get married as well. So I gave it 8 out of 10. It's Why Men Marry Some Women and Not Others by Darren Malai. Thanks for watching. Bye.